Now, there's something wrong in people's reaction to the Iran nuclear deal. Because if what they're saying is true, it makes no sense at all. What are the critics saying? They're saying, oh my God, this is going to make Iran more likely to get a nuclear weapon than not. That's not remotely true. That's not even close to true. Because what we can do is we can actually inspect all of their known nuclear sites at any time that we want. It's the IAEA gets to do that. That's the United Nations. We're in their business, right? And they have to stop all the nuclear program. Now, they have a somewhat legitimate point in that if we're going to non-known nuclear sites, like a military site where they might be surreptitiously doing some sort of nuclear energy program, in order to get to that, it could last as long as 24 days. But from Iran's perspective, they're like, what do you want us to do? Just let the Americans into any military site we have at a moment's notice? Or even the United Nations into those sites? No, there has to be a process. You have to have some legitimate reason for thinking we're working on a nuclear weapons program there, and there has to be a process. So that process takes 24 days. But remember, for all their known nuclear sites, we actually can go in there at any time. And if they're cheating in any way, this deal is over, okay? So you can't in good conscience think that they're more likely to get nuclear weapons if the IAEA is able to inspect all their nuclear sites and even their non-nuclear sites. So what is the real concern? And I figured it out. The real concern is the money, Lebowski. See, when we lift sanctions, they're going to get $100 billion in frozen assets back. So when they get that money back, well, then they could invest it in doing some of the things they're doing throughout the Middle East, fighting in Syria against Sunnis. So that's why the Saudis, who are fighting them in Syria surreptitiously, are pissed because now the Iranians are going to have more money to buy weapons to give to their Shia ally in Syria. And also in Yemen, right next door to Saudi Arabia. Israel doesn't like it because then Iran is empowered with more money. So are they right? Well, look, it bothers me that Iran has more money, and they will likely use some of it to fight against some of our interests. That's true, and that bothers me greatly. On the other hand, it wasn't our money, and we didn't give it to them. We had taken it from them. So they would sell their oil, and then we'd go, okay, great, now we freeze your assets. So those assets were frozen all over the world, in Asia, in Turkey, in Europe, etc., and we wouldn't let them get their money back. So all we did was we held their money hostage until they agreed to end their nuclear program. And they did, and now we can inspect them. So the people that are against this deal are not against it for the reasons they're stating in public. They know that it makes it less likely that Iran will get a nuke, but that was never their concern in the first place. Their real concern was the money, Lebowski. They didn't want Iran to get their own money back. But as much as I can't stand the mullahs that run Iran, as much as I think they're on the wrong side in Syria and in other places, well, we can't just take their money. In fact, we did, and we got something in return for it, which is amazing, but we can't keep it forever. The only other answer is if you try to keep their money forever, you're going to and you say you can't do your nuclear program and they continue, well, we're going to have a war. See, the guys on the right wing, they don't mind that war, but we all greatly mind that war. It's one thing when we're right and we're doing justice. It's another thing when we're wrong. So in this case, yes, it's about the money, and yes, it was their money in the first place. That's the money they get back. That's what all the anger is about. But they can't say it in public, because saying it in public doesn't sound good. Hey, can't we just keep stealing their money? And the answer to that is no. No, you can't.